All right, welcome, Florence Unified School District basketball fans. Today is Thursday, April 23rd, and we have four more games coming at you today. These are going to be the final four games of the regular season as we prepare to head into the playoffs. After today's games are over, we will know who's seeded what and what we're going to look like going into Tuesday's first round of the playoffs. And as you can see today, I am joined by a special guest. We're going to move outside of Florence K-8. I have Rob Lanehart, who is the Dean of Students and Athletic Director over at Anthem K-8. He's going to be making some predictions to see if he could take out Mr. Smith, Miss Lopez, and Miss Potter, who at this point haven't really done an impressive job of picking some of these games. So how are you doing today, Mr. Lanehart?
I'm doing great. I'm pretty excited to get this video here with my newborn son. We'll see how long he lasts.
Yeah, you have Kane with you today. Is he your secret weapon? Is he the one that's going to help you pick these games?
I'm pretty sure that if I'm not sure what to do, I'm just going to see what his choice is, and we'll see if the baby can make the right decision.
You know, in the background there, I see you have Anthem gear and Florence gear. You had to be pretty conflicted when Florence and Anthem were playing one another a week ago.
And it was a close game. I got to give a shout out to Coach Silvas. You know, I'm proud of his team and all, but it's kind of a sensitive subject for me when we have that rivalry. You know, I've got some history there at the high school, and so always a Gopher. You know.
Absolutely, and I'm sure we'll have another chance to meet up in the playoffs after this round of games is over.
Okay.
We'll start by looking at game number one today. Today in game number one, we have Magma Ranch traveling to Circle Cross. Now, Circle Cross Ranch to start the season looked absolutely unbeatable. They went a perfect 5-0. They took out an undefeated Skyline Ranch. And then last week, they matched up against Copper Basin, ranked number 8. Terrible point differential, really hadn't done much all season, and Copper Basin won by 24 points. What looked like a strong team all year all of a sudden showed a weakness. Meanwhile, Magma Ranch was ranked number 3 with a winning record less than a week ago, but they dropped to 0-2 in their last 2 games. Now we have 2 teams that are losing momentum at really the wrong time of the season as we head to the playoffs. Who do you think is going to win in this game, and what do you think is going to happen?
Well, first of all, every middle school game I've watched, it's any given Sunday, it seems like, you know, and I think that this simulation really speaks to that, and I'm really proud of what you're doing, Mr. Miller. I can't even say it. When it gets down to getting blown out last week, I really kind of disappointed in their undefeated, season they had going on. But I'm going to have to pick CCR again. I think they're going to take out Magma Ranch.
Yeah, I mean, they're a really strong team there, and I'm sure they don't want to go into the playoffs with a loss. Now, is that the same pick that Kane has picked right there, or is Kane going to go with Magma Ranch in this one?
Kane, do you think it's going to be CCR or Magma Ranch? Not Magma. I think he wants CCR.
I think he does too. So let's head into game number 1 and see what happens when Magma Ranch heads to Circle Cross Ranch to take on the Cheetahs. All right, that wraps up game number 1 there. And as you saw, Magma Ranch walks away with the victory. They defeat Circle Cross Ranch with a score of 55-50. And Mr. Lanehart, you're 0-1 to start. That's not a great start to your prediction career.
I think the only prediction I had right is any given Sunday, Mr. Miller.
And that's really the theme of the season, because we had teams that looked really good at the beginning that started to falter. We had teams that went winless that are now really on a hot streak.
Yeah.
And, anything can happen when these teams match up. And speaking of matchups, we're going into game number 2, which is going to feature the Santan Heights Hawks versus the Copper Basin Dust Devils. Now, Santan Heights beat your Eagles last week by 12 points, and they look strong start to finish. Didn't really give up the lead once they took it there in quarter number 1, and they're sitting at an even 3-3 on the season. So going into the playoffs, this game really means the difference for Santan Heights. Do you go into the playoffs with a winning season, or do you go in with a losing season? Meanwhile, Copper Basin is picking up steam. They knocked off the number 1 Circle Cross Ranch Cheetahs last week in really a dominant performance to bring their record to 2-4. Copper Basin hasn't lost in over a week, and they've looked strong every step of the way. So is Copper Basin for real? Are they going to keep this up, or were those victories just a fluke, and are they going to fall to Santan Heights?
I feel like Santan Heights pretty readily took care of us last week. I agree. I was kind of shocked. I'm hoping that, they maybe sit back in the back seat for a while because we get to the playoffs. I don't want to have to play them again in the first round. So I'm going to go with, unfortunately, Santan Heights because they got a big guy in the middle there. But I'll look to Kane. See what he thinks. Kane, what do you think?
From a motivation standpoint, going into the first round of the playoffs with a winning record is kind of a big deal. So Santan Heights has a lot to play for in this game.
Is it? Yeah. Santan Heights?
All right, we're going to head into game number 2. We're going to take a look at Santan Heights as they head to Copper Basin to take on the Dust Devils. right, and we're back from game number 2. As you just saw there, Santan Heights knocked off Copper Basin, took them out of their winning streak. Final score of 50-42, and you, Mr. Lanehart, have pushed your record to 1-1 in predicting these games.
Feel pretty good about that right now. We'll see what happens with my home team playing right now.
And I got to ask our other visitor on the show today, Hayden, how do you think your dad is doing so far? Is he impressing the family? I know that's exactly what I was thinking too.
I don't think he's too happy with my performance at this point.
Well, you are on a bit of a streak here because you did correctly call Santan Heights as they took out the Copper Basin Dust Devils. But now, as we move on to game number 3, this is one that I think is going to give you some problems. Because as we know, you are the Dean of Students and the Athletic Director there at Anthem. And your Anthem Eagles are traveling to Skyline Ranch to take on a team that really is one of the more dominant teams in this league. Skyline looked sharp last week, moving to a record of 5-1 on the season. They can finish this season in number 1, particularly if Circle Cross Ranch, or after the Circle Cross Ranch lost this week. Skyline Ranch could be in first place with a victory, so they have a lot to play for. And their only loss was to number 1 Circle Cross Ranch, who's a really talented team. Other than that, they've run the table. Anthem's looking for a win after going 0-3 in the past 10 days. They started the season 2-1, but really haven't looked sharp since then. The last 2 losses for Anthem have been tough. They seemingly haven't been all that competitive. So you have what on paper looks like a mismatch. But of course, I know you believe in your Eagles. So can Anthem overcome these challenges and perhaps beat the best team in the league?
I think absolutely. I watched number 4 play this whole season and kind of read him along. I'm pretty confident he's going to turn it up after that loss last week. So I'm sure that we need to bounce back, and I think today is going to be the start. And then once we make this turning point, at least I hope we'll progress at the right time and peak when we need to coming into the postseason.
Yeah, that number 4, the way he moves the ball, he tends to find those open players under the basket and really gets Anthem some easy points. So if he can do that today, Anthem definitely has a shot against the Bulldogs.
Well, we'll have to see.
Yes, we will, and that's what we're going to do right now. So we're going to head into game number 3. We're going to take a look at the Anthem Eagles as they head to Skyline Ranch to take on the Bulldogs.
Go Eagles.
And we're back from game number 3. Mr. Lanehart, 1-2 on the day, and maybe more disappointing than being 1-2 on the day. Anthem, who looked pretty sharp in the first half of that game, fourth quarter couldn't find it in him, and Skyline walks away with a pretty easy victory on the day.
Yeah, I'm shocked. Again, it looks like we are coming up short in a lot of different places, and I'm wondering if it isn't coaching. I think maybe I need to look at that. After having a championship baseball season and a championship football season, I was really looking to try to capitalize on a championship basketball season. But hopefully,
it's unprecedented, but perhaps the coach should be fired going into the playoffs. I mean, are we at that point?
I'll have to check ticket sales. Looks like the games have definitely been selling out, so I might be able to do that. Are you looking for a job for the season?
You don't want me coaching anything, but the fan support is still there. But after watching that game right there, Anthem really needs to find a way to turn it around because they're going to head into the playoffs one of the lower seeds.
Yeah.
And speaking of lower seeds, in our fourth and final game of today, we have the last place Gophers heading to Walker Butte. Really a tale of two teams thus far. Walker Butte has been absolutely on fire. After starting 0-3, they're 3-0, and they've taken out some really tough teams. Walker Butte at one point had fallen to number 7 in the league, and now they control their own destiny and can go in as a top 3 team. Florence, meanwhile, has fallen to last place on the season. They've stayed in games, but in the fourth quarter, much like the Eagles in the last game, they've really faltered. Florence has struggled to shoot the ball. They're shooting a low shooting percentage, both from the field and from three-point range. And so you have two teams that are going in different directions. Can Florence turn it around, or is Walker Butte and their momentum going to be too much to handle?
Well, I really hope that Florence can turn it around. I would hate to ever wish anything bad on anybody, like, having Florence and Anthem, the two worst teams in this league currently, to play in some kind of COVID turkey trophy for the end here. I'm not sure, but, I really kind of hope that we can turn it around, and I hope Florence can turn it around as my support goes out to Florence. I'm going to pick Florence.
I can hear Kane yelling in the background, though. It seems like he's trying to correct you to let you know that you're making a bad pick here. What's Kane thinking over there?
Kane, what do you think? Gophers? Or Walker Butte? He might be picking Walker Butte.
I think he is picking Walker Butte.
Well, have the Walker Butte pick.
All we have to do now is head into the game. So let's send it over to Walker Butte, where we see Florence take on the Coyotes. And we're back from Walker Butte, and as you can tell, I think Kane got that game right calling Walker Butte. I think he might be a little disappointed in you. With your pick of Florence and Florence losing 53-44, you fall to 1-3 on your picks, and you are now equal with Mr. Smith, your athletic director counterpart.
Maybe I should go back to coaching, Mr. Miller. I'm not sure.
Anthem and Florence are headed into the playoffs, and both of them are kind of headed in the wrong direction, seemingly. I think there's a couple coaching opportunities for you out there should you choose to go that direction.
Yeah.
Well, that concludes today's game. So as we head into the playoffs, let's take a look at where the standings fall on the season. And as we put those statistics up on the board, you can see that with the loss by Circle Cross today and the win by Skyline, Skyline will go into the postseason tournament in first place with a record of 6-1. Circle Cross Ranch falls to second place, and Walker Butte, finishing the season 4-0, finishes in third place. Santan Heights finishes 4-3 in fourth place. Those are the 4 teams with the winning records. And your 5th through 8th seeds are Magma Ranch, Copper Basin, Anthem, and Florence. As we look at the tournament, which will begin next Tuesday, we'll have the number 1 Skyline Ranch Bulldogs matched up against Florence. The number 3 Walker Butte Coyotes matched up against Copper Basin. Santan Heights will take on Magma Ranch. And Circle Cross Ranch will host Anthem K8. And that will wrap up the first round of the playoffs. So we look forward to seeing everybody next week as we begin the playoffs in the FUSD virtual basketball season. On behalf of everyone here at Florence Unified School District, I would like to thank Rob Lanehart for joining me today in casting his predictions. Thank you, everybody. Please stay safe and have a great day.